All right, today we're going to be looking at step functions. Step function is a function that produces a number value, a constant for each designated interval of the domain. As you can see, the graphs of the step functions, the greatest integer or least integer functions, do look like steps. The definition of the greatest integer function is the greatest integer less than or equal to x. And that can either be denoted with single brackets or double brackets. Least integer function is the least integer that is greater than or equal to. An example of a greatest integer function, if we are finding f of 3.2 and we replace x with 3.2, then we are asking for the greatest integer of 3.2. It is the greatest integer less than or equal to x. 3.2 would lie somewhere in this vicinity, and we know that the greatest integer less than or equal to that is 3. Okay, if we are looking at the least integer or of 5.2, 5.2 would be in this vicinity, and that is going to be the least integer that is greater than or equal to that. That would be the integer 6. All right, we are looking at the greatest integer of 5.4. 5.4 is approximately in this area. We're looking for the greatest integer that is less than 5.4, and that would be, in this particular case, 5. Therefore, the answer is 5. The greatest integer of negative 7.2, negative 7.2 is here. We are looking at the greatest integer that is less than or equal to negative 7.2, and that is negative 8. The greatest integer of 6.3 would be the greatest integer that is less than or equal to 6.3, and that is 6. And the greatest integer of negative 8.2, which would be here, would be the greatest integer that is less than or equal to negative 8.2, which would be negative 9. All right, here's practice. We have the greatest integer of negative 6.7. That is going to be the greatest integer that is less than negative 6.7, which is going to be negative 7. We're going to do this one as the least integer. The least integer is the least integer that is greater than or equal to 5.1, and that would be 6. Okay, if we are evaluating, f of x is equal to the greatest integer of x plus 2, and we are evaluating 3.1. So we are going to do the greatest integer of 3.1 plus 2. When we add those together, we're going to get the greatest integer of 5.2, and the greatest integer of 5.2 is going to be the greatest integer less than or equal to 5.2, which is 5. We're doing the greatest integer of 2/3. So it is going to be the greatest integer of negative 5 times 2/3, which would give me the greatest integer of negative 10/3. And we know that negative 10/3 is negative 3.3 repeating. So the greatest integer that is less than or equal to negative 3.3 repeating is negative 3. All right, on your own, we are going to try these. So I'm going to let you go ahead and attempt finding the value for the greatest integer of 8.2.